Chaos.radio. Music, podcasts, entertainment.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of NEWSWAVE, written, produced and recorded in the heart of Cornwall by the team here at Chaos Radio. I'm your host, Tom Howe, and I'll be guiding you through some of the insightful guests and exciting news content that we've enjoyed across Chaos Radio this past week. On today's show, we join Sarbjit Singh, Director and Pharmacist at Randhawa Pharmacy, to explore the inspiration behind the new community venture here in St Austell. We check in with Flo Linscott, Diverse Community Sergeant for Cornwall, about the significance of Hate Crime Awareness Week 2025 and ongoing efforts to combat discrimination. We hear from Nikki of Konnect Communities about Steps to Stability, a fundraising walk supporting people facing some of life's toughest challenges. And we welcome Caroline Ellis from the Admiral Nurse Service to discuss Carers Corner, a new initiative offering support and advice to carers across Cornwall.
NEWSWAVE.
First off this week, a new chapter in community healthcare began in St Austell this past week with the opening of a new pharmacy. Randhawa Pharmacy will offer a much-needed alternative for residents struggling with long queues and limited access to prescriptions, and hopes to ease pressures on local GP services. It's run by Cornwall's largest independent pharmacy group, Barnes Pharmacy, which now operates in 6 locations, including Bugle, St Dennis, St Stephen, Roach, St Day, and now Carclays. Bryna Jordan spoke to Director and Pharmacist Sarbjit Singh and began by asking what inspired them to open the pharmacy.
NEWSWAVE.
We have a pharmacy nearby in Bugle, so we were getting a lot of residents from St Austell side, and they were coming for their prescriptions to us all the way from St Austell, although there were 2 temporary traffic lights on the way as well were put in at the time. And so we just, we explored with them that why it's making them to come to all the way to Bugle. So they were explaining the problems they were having in the town because, the long queues in the town pharmacies, and they were struggling to get their medicines on time. So that made us think that, even they asked us as well, that we should try to open one in the town. So then we started exploring in the town that, okay, we found the same thing that, yes, there is a need for one. And then we decided rather than piling up all in the central town where the other pharmacies are, let's go a little bit, distant from the other pharmacies so that the whole town gets evenly distributed pharmacy. So we thought this is the best area we can put in, and found this place was empty. So we bought the place, and then it took us 1 year to get all approved.
Absolutely. I think it's definitely a game changer for the residents of St Austell to have something like this, especially in that area of town. I find a lot of things are obviously centred towards the centre of St Austell in the middle of the town. Could you talk a little bit about what kind of services that you'll be offering at this pharmacy?
We will be doing all the services which a pharmacy should offer. So basic dispensing of the prescriptions, of course, and we will be running weight loss clinic as well, private weight loss clinic. We'll be running travel clinic there as well. So if somebody traveling abroad and want to have the jabs done necessary for visiting that country, we will be providing that service. We'll be providing COVID and flu jabs. We will be providing all the pharmacy first services, for example, the UTIs, sore throat, impetigo, infect bites. So basically, all the services a pharmacy should provide, and also those who have difficulty accessing the pharmacy, for example, disabled or elderly people, we will be offering free delivery throughout the town. This free delivery will be accessible to anybody. Like whatever time they normally give to their surgeries or existing pharmacies, for example, 5 working days before they need a medicine, so they can order their prescription on the NHS app, or they can call us, or we can order automatically every month for them. It's called Manage Repeat service. And then if they're delivery patient, it will get delivered to them.
Amazing.
And then if they're not home, we will leave a note that we tried and they will give us a call. We will rearrange the delivery again.
What conditions will you be able to help under Pharmacy First? We've touched on it a little bit. And how do you think this service will support local healthcare in St Austell?
It will do a big difference because obviously if the other pharmacies are busy with the prescriptions already, they might not be having chance to do much of these services. So we'll be doing a lot of that in our other pharmacies. We have expertise on that. We are quite up to date on that service. That will, let's say if there are 6-7 of these conditions which we can treat over the counter, UTIs, sore throat, impetigo, infected insect bites, sinusitis, otitis media. So for all those conditions, patients don't need to see the GP. So that will free up GP surgery's time to concentrate on more, complicated conditions. So that will help everybody.
What do you hope that this new pharmacy will bring to St Austell? We've talked about the accessibility, but we've seen a lot of it towards maybe the centre of town. We've seen pharmacies shutting down over the past couple of years. What do you hope it will bring?
People are struggling already in accessing these services, so this will make their life easier. So they can, like I said, our Google Pharmacy has a good reputation. What kind of service we offer people of St Austell has already seen that there. And we will carry on that legacy to St Austell. We are just one phone call away. Anybody having any problem, just give us a call and we can sort out their problems, pharmacy related. Anybody runs out of the medicines, we can issue emergency supplies during week. And on Saturday, we will be open till 12. So we will offer great range of accessibility on those things. So as we heard from patients previously that they sometimes, especially, for example, busy times of the year, Christmas or Easter time, they have to wait outside in the queue, in the rain. These things will be gone. So we are very excited on that because we have offered these services up till now, we were based in the villages. So this is our first town where we are going to provide the service. And I think people have not experienced those village services where a very personalized service people receive. So we are very proud on that. And I think we will not disappoint people. They just give us a chance and we will look after them.
NewsWave.
Thank you to Bryna there, speaking to Sarbjit Singh. The pharmacy has opened its doors and will be open Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. until 5:30 p.m, although will be closed between 1 and 2 p.m. for lunch, and on Saturdays from 9 a.m. until midday. You can find out more information and get support by calling them on 01726 473 222. That's 01726 473 222. Now, this past week marked Hate Crime Awareness Week 2025, a national campaign shining a light on the impact of hate crime and the importance of standing together against discrimination. Joining Cheryl Gordon on the Chaos Radio Breakfast Show was Flo Linscott, the diverse community sergeant for Cornwall at Devon and Cornwall Police.
NewsWave.
Hate crime in itself is such a impactful crime to have happen to somebody because it attacks their identity. It's who they are. So myself and my two members of staff, we're a very small team in Devon and Cornwall Police. We cover Cornwall. We've got other colleagues that cover other areas of Devon and Cornwall. But we do this. We carry out this role every day of every year anyway, but this week it's intensified. And the communities that we contact and we engage with throughout the year, we try and intensify that contact this week. So it's all about making those connections, building that trust. Some of our seldom heard communities as well. And this year's focus, it's set nationally, but this year's focus is disability. That there are 5 main protected characteristics that the government mandate police forces across the country to monitor, record and investigate and support. And disability is one of those 5 main characteristics.
What are some of the events that you've got planned during Hate Crime Awareness Week to engage with the public?
Yeah, so we've booked up. It's fully booked this week, myself and my staff. That includes our neighbourhood team colleagues as well, because part of our role is to encourage them to engage as well and focus on the investigations that they've got ongoing in relation to vulnerable people. But this week, so already on Monday, we spent the day with Mid Cornwall Hub, which is a centre for people with learning disabilities, acquired brain injury, autism, and other neurodivergent conditions. So we're well connected at that centre anyway. But on Monday we spent a day with them talking about keeping safe. Talking about how they can get in contact with police, and that we're not scary. We're here to listen and we're here to help. So we spent the day with them there at St Austell. Yesterday we were with Safe for Cornwall, which is a department of Cornwall Council, and we spent the day in Penzance. And recently Penzance has had a few extra issues there in relation to some discrimination that we've seen happening. But it's not dissimilar to any other of the big towns in Cornwall. Each suffers spikes throughout the year of different bits and pieces. But yesterday we spent the day with Safe for Cornwall, and we visited all the local businesses and asked them to sign up to the Say No to Hate campaign, which is it's a joint campaign between the Diverse Communities team, myself, and Safe for Cornwall, part of Cornwall Council. And it's a way that businesses can have a sticker in their window with a little code that people can scan. If they are threatened and it's a hate-related incident, they can scan that code with their smartphone, even after the store is closed, and get hold of us and report those things to us. And it also shows that the store is an ally, that they're there to support and they understand. So we have a little chat with the business owners, and hopefully they're on board with us. So that was yesterday. Later this morning and today, myself and my team will be visiting a very small, bespoke educational establishment in East Cornwall, and they support adults who are autistic and other neurodivergent conditions with life skills and all sorts of bits and pieces like that. So we've been there before, and today we're also being interviewed by them for their podcasts. So we'll be engaging with them later on today. And tomorrow we'll be at another establishment up in Liscard. Gorfenna will be up there with their people that attend that centre. So a really full and enjoyable week. But these are the things that we do every week of the year, but we just try and intensify that for this week. And like I said, we try and engage our colleagues as well. So last week, although last week it fell outside of Hate Crime Awareness Week, we had our colleagues with the police van at the centre. We had our fellow colleagues from Cornwall Fire and Rescue. They came with one of their engines, and it's such an enjoyable day for the people that attend that centre, the day centre, to really get up close and personal to us. We're the people that, if in an emergency or a crisis, they can call on us, and we will come and we will help. And for some of those, they don't comprehend that actually if they ring 999 or get hold of a police officer, that we will attend and we will help them. And then finally Friday we're going to be going to in the afternoon, hopefully to be confirmed, but the Newquay Orchard over at Newquay, and they're an excellent service, and we've liaised with Newquay Orchard before. Really community focused organisation, helping all sorts of different members of the community, including our diverse communities as well. So really full week, and we always look forward to this, but it's very intense.
Devon and Cornwall Police have a zero tolerance to hate crime pledge. Can you tell us about this year round the campaign and how further local organisations can get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. So the pledge has been running a number of years now, and it's obviously a goal that we strive to attain. But and what it is, because, like I've said, myself and my small team, we are a very, very small team. I think we're one of, Devon and Cornwall is only one of 13 other forces that have a diversity team. Other forces do have diversity officers, but they're usually blended into other roles. But our small team will focus on that zero tolerance to hate crime campaign, whereby we'll approach organisations, support groups, even individuals within the community who are, if you like, ambassadors for their protected or vulnerable group of people, and ask them if they would be willing to sign up to the pledge, especially the businesses where they might have a social media footprint or something online where they can share our poster with our QR code. But the pledge also incorporates something we call a third-party reporting centre, although it's changing ever so slightly over the last couple of years to support to report. And the support to report theme really is those businesses, if they are entirely able, if someone comes into their shop or their business or their organisation and they've been subject to some sort of hate-related incident, that business, hopefully, with our input and some training with us, they'll be empowered to sit with that person, understand what's happened to them, help them record what's happened to them, and then get hold of us. Because we understand there are some barriers to people not wanting to approach the police or come into a police station or report something on the 101 telephone line. We understand all of those different barriers, and there's multiple different reasons as to why people won't want to do that. So we do encourage other businesses that we speak to. Look, have you heard about the third-party reporting scheme? Would you be willing to sign up to it? And also, we've got all sorts of support organisations through Cornwall that are members of the third-party reporting. And again, those people, if they've been victimised in some way, and it's about their identity, about their personality, about their heritage or race or disability, sexual orientation, all of those different things, they might be more inclined to go to that support group because that support group is in touch with the members of their community anyway, and tell them rather than telling police. So it's a really good relationship that we've got with these people and these businesses, that what they do then is say, we've had a police officer around to see us, and they've given us some training as to how we can help support you in making your report to the police. It can be anonymous as well if the person really doesn't want to give us their details and just wants it logged and recorded. At least then we can see a pattern emerging, some sort of tension emerging within the community that we can then focus our efforts on. So it really is the most important relationship to have with someone and a business or a support organisation that have signed up to the Zero Tolerance campaign, that would like to be a third-party reporting centre, and then obviously become that supportive extra function outside of the policing, or outside of our force. So, and also we've got a whole group of what we call independent advisors who help even some of our higher up decision-making processes understand and look at things through the lens of their community as well. So it's hugely important that we've got these relationships within the community.
What kinds of hate crimes are most commonly reported in our county, and how does Devon and Cornwall Police support these victims?
Yeah, so sadly we do get spikes of hate crimes through the year. It's usually linked with things that are happening abroad or other areas of the UK. But the most reported types of hate crimes are verbal abuse. That's in public places. It can be typed abuse, so things on social media and online, so harassment type offences. We do get some low-level assaults. Sadly, some criminal damage type offences where either graffiti is sprayed or items are damaged or broken, cars damaged. But above all, most of those are harassment or verbal abuse type offences. And what happens is once the report has come into the police, it will go to our contact centre, and the contact centre then will flag it or list it, if you like, for the attention of the diverse communities team, so myself and my colleagues. And every morning we will review and look at every report that has come into Devon and Cornwall Police, and make sure that all the right things are happening with those, make sure they've been allocated to a real person, to a real officer. Because some of those crimes, if they're not hate related, it may well be that they're screened out because the call taker has deemed that there's insufficient lines of inquiry to continue. It might be a car that's been scratched overnight and there's no CCTV and not near any neighbours or something like that. But when it's hate related, it should get a higher level of scrutiny, which is why they'll flag it for us, and we will look at it to see if there are we will look at every opportunity possible to find investigative lines of inquiry, if you like. Make sure it's been allocated to an officer locally, and make sure that contact's been made, because we're in touch with our victim support department. There's also a restorative justice department as well, which will run alongside an investigation, because it's so important that for the victim and the subject, the person who is, if you like, the perpetrator, to understand the impact of their actions. If a perpetrator is identified, once the main part of the investigation is complete, there is an option for the victim and the subject to go through a process of restorative justice, and it's a wonderful way of giving closure to the victim, if you like, and also a way of reparation for the subject to understand the impact of their actions in that situation. So that's one way that we support. Another way that we support is, like I said, the relationships that me and my staff have got with support organisations across Cornwall, that we'll make referrals to those organisations. We'll signpost people. And if they'd like, we can make those referrals on their behalf and put them in touch with their people, if you like. We've got organisations that cater for Black, Asian and ethnically diverse people. We've got disability help groups. We've got neurodivergent help groups, sexual orientation support groups, trans support groups, and faith and religion support groups. So we've got a rich covering of support in Cornwall. We're very lucky in Cornwall that we've got that richness of support out there, and we simply make the referral on behalf of that victim or the person that's been impacted by that hate-related incident, or we can signpost them to phone number, website, email address, one of those different methods that they can then, if they want to, we can empower them to find that support themselves. But we're more than happy to step in and do those referrals for them.
Finally, how can individuals report hate crimes, and what's available for people who feel afraid of coming forward?
Okay, so I've touched on some of that already, but what I'll say is that we're very thankful that some of our front offices have been reopened now, which is a long time coming, but we're really thankful of that. We've got a great team on the offices that are open now already. And we've been around and had inputs with those members of staff at our police station front offices. So we would hope that if somebody has been victim of something like this, or a friend or another witness or someone else is aware that this has happened to somebody, that they would feel confident in coming into one of our police stations that have got a front office that's back open again. So there's one way. Another way is, of course, 999. If the threat is immediate and something's happening then and there, and the subject is still on scene and that the threat is still present, then please ring 999 every time. And we would rather turn up and find somebody there than there's a delay or that 999 isn't called, and we get there and something's already happened that we wouldn't want to happen. So there is always that function. There's the 101 system, the telephone system. So please, we encourage people to ring 101 and let us know what's happening. There's also this QR code that I mentioned, which is a direct link in then to our police website. So if you go onto the Devon and Cornwall Police website, in the big search bar in the middle, if you type hate crime, it will take you to our page. So it'll explain what hate crime is, and then it will say, would you like to report something now? And it will take you through a really simple process as to how to report something. And that QR code effectively takes you straight there. So if somebody's not technically minded and they would rather use the QR code themselves or with support of a friend or a carer or a guardian, then they can use that QR code to fill out a simple form to us. It will then submit that into our contact centre. They will grade it. Obviously, if there's a higher threat level, they will send it out for immediate response. If not, they will grade it. If the threat has now subsided and it's safe for us to attend or speak to that person in the next few hours, the next 24 hours, etc., then we'll do that. And then finally, I've already touched on our wonderful support to report third-party reporting centres. They are across Cornwall, and they cover the whole county. And all of these organisations, they've all got websites and Facebook pages. And you usually find that when we speak to a victim, it could be a black person. We say, "Have you heard of this organisation?" They go, "Yes, I have." I say, "Okay, would you like us to make a referral for you, or would you be happy to contact them yourselves? Here are their contact details." So that those are the main ways. And by far the most used is the website, the QR code, and the favourite is the third-party reporting, if they would rather do that other than coming into a police station.
NewsWave.
Right, I'm Tom Howe and you're listening to NewsWave here on Chaos Radio. That was Flo Linscott. Thank you, Flo, the Diverse Community Sergeant for Cornwall, joining us here on Chaos. If you'd like to find out more about Hate Crime Awareness Week 2025, visit National HCAW. That's nationalhcaw.uk. Right, moving on now. Konnect communities are days away from embarking on a fundraising walk, with monies raised going towards supporting people navigating some of life's toughest challenges. Steps to Stability, taking place on Tuesday the 21st of October, will follow a 7.5-mile circular route from Portreath to Porthtowan, with donations helping fund volunteer mentors. Joining me to talk about the walk, the mission behind it and how you can get involved was Nikki Cannon, a volunteer coordinator from Konnect Communities.
NewsWave.
So we work with people who are at risk of or already involved in the criminal justice system, and we provide mentoring for them, whether it be to get back to work. We've got some support for young people who are at risk of the criminal justice system. We've got support for housing for people who are coming out of prison. So there's all different facets to what we do. And then we also do workshops and things which sort of bring people together to do some sort of skill-based work. And then we do the volunteering arm, which is we train people mostly with lived experience. We train them up as mentors, give them loads of experience in like criminal justice, mental health, neurodiversity, reflective, like there's a whole bunch of things. And so that they can go out and use that lived experience in a really positive way with our client base.
Well, that sounds like a really interesting job. And to make it even more interesting, you're now about to embark on this not so little fundraising walk next week. What's the story behind Steps to Stability, and what does it represent?
So basically, this was actually suggested by one of our really lovely volunteers who wanted to do something to raise visibility and raise some money. And she came up with the idea, which is Sarah, by the way. But, it seemed like such a lovely idea. So we really wanted to run with it. When our volunteers have like things that they want to do or an endeavour that they want to undertake, we tend to be very supportive of that anyway. And I thought, what a lovely way to sort of raise awareness of not just what Konnect does, but what they do, because they work so quietly but diligently to like help everybody. And it's a nice way of getting some recognition and obviously some more funding so that we can get more done, but for the client base as well. Averagely, our volunteers are covering about 148 hours mentoring per month, which is a huge amount to donate your time. It's a very small team, they do so much and they work so hard and they're such a good group. I just really want to highlight all the amazing work that they do and, try and, if we can expand that would be amazing. And the clients have got so much out of it. They've had such amazing successes. I just think it's a really nice opportunity to highlight that as well.
Now you're aiming to raise £1,800, is that right? What will that money go towards?
At present, we have about 20 people that are being supported entirely by our volunteers. They also do a lot of support for people who they've got mentors, but they need extra support. We're limited though by funds to how many people that they can physically support. It would increase our capacity and also our capacity to do extra training so that there's extra things that they can do with those client base. We're currently doing some literacy and numeracy support, but like giving extra training so that there's follow-on things or extra IT skills that they would then be able to deliver, it just increase capacity basically.
Excellent. Can you tell us more then about the routes that you're going to be taking on this walk and what people can expect on the day as well?
So, yeah, it sort of goes up onto the cliff path, and then there's quite a treacherous little bit where there's all the steps. But that's the sort of steps to stability bit. So I'm like, I'm really, yeah. Yeah, it goes all along the cliff path and then comes back around. It's actually a lovely route, I think. I'm sure some people will be cursing me for choosing it. But
Yes. Have you seen the weather forecast? What's the weather forecast like? That's going to be quite important.
I don't actually know. If it's really windy, we're in trouble, aren't we?
Oh, no. Well, look, I wish you the very, very best of luck.
NEWSWAVE.
That was Nikki Cannon from Konnect Communities talking about their Steps to Stability walk that's taking place on Tuesday the 21st of October. It starts at 10 a.m. from Portruth Beach Car Park and covers a stunning 7.5-mile circular route to Porthtowan and back. They're aiming to raise £1,800 to fund 6 months of volunteer mentoring. Head to Konnect, that's Konnect with a K, konnect-communities.co.uk for more information, including details of how to get involved or to donate. And finally this week, looking after a loved one can be overwhelming, but support is available. Janice Rose was joined by Caroline Ellis, lead from the Admiral Nurse Service, to talk about Carers Corner, a new initiative offering advice and support to carers across Cornwall.
NEWSWAVE.
It's vital that we put this word out so that people know there's places to go for support. But first of all, Caroline, can you tell me a little bit about Carers Corner and how it came about?
Yes, so absolutely. Carers Corner started as part of my role as the service manager for the integrated Admiral Nurse Service. What we do is we support carers and families who look after someone living with dementia. And as part of my role, I was visiting many services and organisations and teams and wards. And talking to those colleagues, it was very clear that there are so many carers out there who are trying to navigate themselves across the health and social care system. And they just don't know where to start to find out where the right information is for them at the right time. So that sort of moved me on to link in with the patient engagement team at RCHT. And we thought, right, let's get this together. Let's try and get something out there for carers. And this is for any carer, not, although I just mentioned that we are specialists in dementia and supporting families with dementia, this is a carer for a sort of a carer's corner for any carer who needs advice and guidance and support. So we set it up at Trelisk to sort of like a pop-up sort of area at Trelisk at the Trelawney wing, and we did it for a few weeks, and we were absolutely astonished at how many carers would come over and talk to us and want to find out information. And so that's how it started. It sort of gradually built up. So it was literally only about 2 or 3 of us who started, and then that was in June 2023. And then from then on, it's expanded and expanded.
Oh, it sounds wonderful. It's great to have that service available for carers in the county. So who can attend these drop-in sessions, and do people need to make an appointment to see you, Caroline?
No, it's absolutely open to anyone. So if you are thinking you are a carer, you look after someone, and you are thinking, you know what, I don't know what services I should be linking in with. I don't know what I'm struggling in my caring role. I just need help and guidance. You can just literally turn up, pop over to any of our carers corners. We have a practitioner. There'll be one of us or 2 of us there, and we're hopefully welcoming and engaging, and you will be able to sort of share your thoughts and feelings about your caring role.
So you said that it's only recently been going on since 2023, so only a couple of years. How have you seen it evolved in that time? And it must include, numbers increasing as well for you, Caroline.
Absolutely. So over the last couple of years, so I'll just explain to where. So we, like I said, we started at Trelisk. It's then expanded to West Cornwall Hospital. Then it went to Bodmin Community Hospital, then St Austell Community Hospital, and then we also have a Carers Corner at Probus Church. We have all the data, and we sort of review how many people come to us actually from the first quarter to this quarter. So April, May, June is the first quarter, to July, August, September is the second quarter of this year. We've had a 45 increase of the number of carers that we have supported. It's absolutely amazing. And actually with that, we've also had a significant increase in the sort of interventions that we have given to carers, the correct signposting. That's actually up to 90%. So we are still at the early stages, and this only works because of the integrated approach that we have to run these carers corners. So we started off with the patient engagement team, but we actually, and I'm a bit scared to list everybody because I'm petrified to missed anybody out, but we do have various services like the Alzheimer's Society, Cornwall Carers Service, the Philo Project. I'm not going to say any more, but they're all brilliant, and everyone knows who is part of this Carers Corner steering group. Everyone who's doing these Carers Corners are doing this out of their normal role and want to be there to support carers to come out. The only thing I've just noticed, I haven't actually said where. I've said where they are, but not what times. Do you want me to mention that?
Yeah, if you could, yes.
So hopefully all the listeners have got a pen down and can write these down. But just to say that the Trelisk, the Royal Cornwall Hospital, so we actually have a Carers Corner every Tuesday from 1 o'clock till 3 o'clock. We have one at West Cornwall Hospital on the first Wednesday of every month, 1 o'clock until 3 o'clock. We held one at Bodmin Community Hospital, and that's the last Thursday of every month, 1 o'clock until 3 o'clock. We also have one at St Austell Hospital. That's the last Friday of every month, 1 o'clock until 3 o'clock. And the recent one, this is the more recent one, and we're building momentum with this one at Probus Church, and that is the second Monday of every month, 10 o'clock until midday. But like I said, you don't need to book. You can come along, and it's very informal but structured. And we have a huge resources and information about any field that you are worried about in regards to your caring role, and we can hopefully signpost and make you feel relaxed and happy and putting you in the right direction so that you can carry on your caring role for a longer period.
Wow, those numbers that you quoted are absolutely amazing, and it's really great the fact that people are finding you and getting the support they need rather than wandering around in the wilderness forever before they actually stumble across somewhere. So that formal approach, I know it's an informal meeting, but having that set up is so vital, Caroline.
It's interesting because also, if you think about it, these are people who are not also just particularly driving out to these carers' corners. These could be people who are visiting their loved ones on the ward or have an outpatient appointment and happen to see us as they are passing, and arrived in that hospital not knowing they were going to be talking about their caring role, or even sometimes recognising that they are a carer themselves, because that is a challenge in its own right. Because you may be looking after your mother or a relative, doing their shopping every single day, helping them up in the morning, making sure they're dressed and ready for their sort of day, sorting out their routine. You might not recognise that is actually being someone's carer, but in fact that is. You are caring for someone. So what is really interesting about this, that we can then support those carers and make sure that they get the care needs and support they need.
Oh, thank you so much. Now let's bring Sarah Rundle in. She's an Admiral Nurse there. So Sarah, what kind of support or advice can carers expect when they come along to a Carers Corner session?
Well, they can expect to meet a friendly face, and sometimes the conversation takes different directions. It's a platform for them to be able to kind of identify themselves as a carer, to talk through whatever comes up in conversation, really. And sometimes that can start off just by sort of engaging on a light sort of light touch, and then sort of gets a little bit deeper in conversation. They can expect to be validated for their lived experience and what they're going through. We sort of identify specific areas of concern that they may raise, and then we can signpost and provide specific literature and leaflets to services that we think are most pertinent to them at that particular stage in their journey. It's just an opportunity for them to be identified as a carer, really, which I think is really invaluable.
Yeah, I find it really interesting when Caroline discussed that going to your mum's every day and doing the shopping, you may not actually think of yourself as being a carer, because I certainly didn't think of myself being a carer when I did those care duties for my mum. So it's sort of highlighting that as well, but also highlighting sometimes we all need to talk, and it's just a great place to go to chat, to get up to the minute advice, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Caroline, can you tell me or give an example of how Carers Corners helped someone recently, so people sort of know the type of things that you do?
Yeah, I can do that one. So we've recently had a gentleman who attended one of the local community hospitals with his wife, and he was basically bringing his wife along to an outpatients appointment, and we kind of had a little short engagement, and then he dropped his wife off, went away, and then a little bit later he came back and sort of ended up having a bit more of a conversation. And it turned out that his wife actually did have a diagnosis of a dementia. So got talking and learnt that he didn't have any support and had felt a bit lost, really, in navigating services and systems, and that he'd been caring for his wife for quite a number of years. And we are starting to see more and more male carers coming onto the scene a little bit now as well. So throughout that conversation, again, we sort of recognised that maybe it was the Admiral Nurse Service that he needed, being that his wife did have a formal diagnosis. So he actually got referred into the Admiral Nurse Service and was allocated one of the Admiral nurses, who then went on to actually deliver huge amounts of support and interventions, and actually work really closely with him to make sure that they got all of the appropriate services involved, and again validated his lived experience. And at the end of the kind of conversation at the Carers Corner, he said that he felt really supported, and found it quite sort of emotive, really.
Well, that's so great that people can go there and they can have those type of informal conversations. As you say, he probably didn't realise you were there, but found you and was able to talk. Why, when you're talking with carers, why is it important for carers to have a space like this when they can talk informally about their roles?
I think it's because there's usually quite a lot of emphasis on a patient, and rightly so. But I think sometimes the carers are the hidden heroes, and they're doing a huge amount of work, and they need validation. And they need a platform to be able to express freely how they're feeling. And a lot of carers are incredibly stoical and have been struggling on for many, many years before they seek some help or know where to access the right services and right levels of support. So I think it's a fundamental platform for them to be able to access services and networks of support.
And it's great to have friendly faces there as well. You two sound like you work amazingly well together.
We do.
So, Caroline, if listeners want to find out more or attend a session, where can they go? If you just repeat the details again, and how can they get in touch, or where can they find out more information online?
Yep, so absolutely. If you'd like to know where the nearest Carers Corner is to where you live, you can email rcht.admiralnurse@nhs.net, and we can point you in the right direction. But they are at Trelisk, at West Cornwall Hospital, Bodmin Community Hospital, St Austell Community Hospital, and at Probus Church. So we'd be more than welcome to point you in their direction. And it also gives me this opportunity to say that I know I mentioned it earlier, but without the Carers Corner steering group and all the services and organisations involved who help stand and be there and as a representative at these Carers Corners, this would not be happening. So a big shout out to all those services. And if you are working within any of those, any service or a professional who'd like to also get involved in supporting carers, we would also be delighted to hear from you.
I think the multi-agency nature of your work is something that actually makes it work, and getting all those people together is just brilliant because, you know, you've got a good platform to discuss everything with carers.
Yeah.
NewsWave.
Okay, that's all we've got time for on this week's edition of NewsWave.
Whoa, hold up there, Mr. Tom Howe. Hello, Nathan Hunkin here. We've got one more story we want to shoehorn into this week's edition of NewsWave. And don't forget, you can download NewsWave as a podcast from wherever you get your podcasts weekly. They do all the hard work. It gets delivered direct to your device. Just search for NewsWave, all one word, from wherever you enjoy your podcasts. Now, new research has revealed that 2 in 5 UK adults wouldn't know how to perform CPR, and only 35 of us say that we would step in during a cardiac emergency. With thousands of out-of-hospital cardiac arrests occurring each year, this confidence gap could cost lives. This week we saw Restart the Heart Day take place on Thursday. It's all part of an annual campaign to urge the public to learn CPR and how to use public access defibrillators. Cheryl Gordon had a chat with Tim Wood, clinical lead at Resuscitation Council UK.
NewsWave.
So there's been lots of research into CPR over the years, not only how to do it effectively and hopefully provide people the best chance of outcomes if they experience a cardiac arrest, which is where the heart stops often unexpectedly, but also what training people have, what awareness they have, and what might stop people getting involved if they are present at a cardiac arrest. So some of the key statistics here really say that 2 in 5 UK adults admit they wouldn't know how to do CPR. So there's a lack of awareness there. And even those who've had training, there's 35% that say that they'd be hesitant to get involved if they witnessed a cardiac arrest. So even when people have access to training, and as we've just talked about ourselves, that, you know, learning CPR is really important. It's a key skill that can potentially save a life if people take that step to learn it and have a bit of knowledge about how to recognise a cardiac arrest and administer CPR, potentially use a defibrillator. That it's really important that we also look to break down the barriers around why people might be reluctant to. From my experience of doing lots of CPR training over the years as a nurse, so part of my professional role and also in community settings, creating awareness, is that a lot of people worry about getting it wrong. That if they're with someone who has a cardiac arrest, they can sometimes be hesitant to actually get involved because there's a fear of getting it wrong. And the key message I think I'd want your listeners to be aware of is that if someone has a cardiac arrest, that's the worst case medical scenario. So you'd have to try really hard to make the situation any worse. So any steps someone can take to help in that moment. Now, ideally, that would be recognising cardiac arrest, providing chest compressions, ringing 999, and getting a defibrillator as soon as possible so that person is ideal. But even if someone's not physically able to do chest compressions, even just helping to recognise a cardiac arrest and raise the alarm, ringing 999, is just as important as being able to administer CPR and use public access defibrillators.
Why do you think people are so hesitant to step in?
I think there's something strange around if this were to happen in a public scenario, a public setting. And the last time I had to do CPR, whilst I'm an A&E nurse by background, the last time I had to do CPR wasn't in, you know, my shiny resus room where a bleep had gone out and there was a team of people assembled. It was when I was at a train station in London and there was that thing that went out over the tannoy asking if there was anyone medical who could go to, you know, to a certain platform. And there, I even, despite all my years of experience and practice and knowledge around CPR and cardiac arrest, still felt this very kind of thing of like, oh, this is a public setting. And, you know, you have lots of eyes on you because there's obviously, whilst there's screens that they started to put around, there's people who are looking on, some of them with concern, some for like, oh, what's happening here? But then that puts that kind of human instinct of being watched and worry about then, oh, what if I take the wrong step or something? So it's a perfectly natural thing to feel a little bit hesitant about worrying about getting it wrong or for the fear of being watched or something. But it's really important that you just take that step to then overcome those anxieties. For me, it was like, I know this stuff. I teach this stuff on a regular basis. So it's like, right, this person is obviously not breathing. They're not responding. This is an emergency. Luckily, because of the setting, they'd already rung an ambulance. They had a defibrillator on scene. So all I had to do was do CPR to the best quality that I could. And then when I was starting to tire, because it is a very physical skill, it was getting other people to go in and make sure that they were doing it as effectively as possible. So it's perfectly natural and human to have that a little bit of wariness in these situations, but it is just a little bit of awareness of knowing like, right, actually, no, this is a cardiac arrest. The best thing I can do is CPR to give this person the best chance of surviving. When someone has a cardiac arrest, when their heart stops unexpectedly, the chance of survival is 10%. 1 in 10 people will survive that. However, for people who receive bystander CPR by someone with them at the time of this happening and potentially have a defibrillator used on them if that's what the heart requires, it doubles or triples that chance of survival. Every minute where these potentially life-saving interventions are delayed, that chance of survival drops by a further 10% as it goes along. Okay, so time is really of the essence. And whilst paramedics will be dispatched as soon as possible in a public setting, it's those people who take that step in those first few moments after a cardiac arrest to recognise it, get help on the way, and look to administer chest compressions and get a defibrillator. Those are the people that make the biggest difference to those people in these time-critical situations.
Have you got any other advice or tips that you feel would be good in encouraging people to go ahead and carry out CPR?
It would be a couple of things. A little awareness can go a long way. So if you have opportunity to practice these skills with a mannequin, with someone who's a trainer, brilliant, fantastic. That'll help you understand more of what you're doing, to actually physically practice, to ask questions about anything you want to know. That's great. But we also have a wealth of other ways that you can practice and increase your awareness, because very often it's just awareness of these things that can sometimes be the real trigger to making the difference. So on our website, you'll find things that you encourage people to practice doing CPR on a pillow, because your body starts to get an idea then of the momentum, the rhythm of how to do chest compressions to the right depth and at the right speed. So there's that way. We also have an interactive online thing you can use on your phone or on the website called Lifesaver, which kind of plays out a series of videos of different scenarios, and it allows people to kind of apply some of their knowledge and again increase this awareness. And again, they can practice on a pillow at the same time as doing this. So there's many different ways to learn this, but even just a little bit of awareness can go a long way in these situations to making a huge difference to people.
I can back you on saying that I've tried out those little scenarios, and they're really good for everybody and anybody just to give it a go. And it's good to see sort of a scenario basis, because we could be anywhere at any time.
It really helps to apply it, because I think something as well for listeners to know is that whilst there's lots of obviously complex things happening in the body and defibrillation, in terms of what happens in the heart when a shock is delivered, it is complex. And, that's something I've spent my career understanding and helping others to understand, that the fundamental acts of these things are really, really simple. Like I said, to recognise a cardiac arrest, it's just, is someone breathing and are they responsive? If not, you've diagnosed cardiac arrest. If you ring 999, they'll talk you through exactly what to do. But chest compressions, again, whilst they're physical, they're fundamentally a very simple thing to deliver. And public access defibrillators, whilst they are complex in how they work, how they encourage the user to interact with them is really straightforward. So AEDs, as increasingly being put up around the country, are designed to be picked up and used by people who've had no training, because they've got this really straightforward look to them, where you'll turn it on, it'll tell you what to do, and then if it wants you to deliver a shock, if that person needs one, it'll just tell you the button to press. So they're really straightforward. So a lot of this, whilst there is lots of complexities and depth you can learn about life support, the fundamental acts for members of the public are really straightforward, and a little bit of knowledge can go a long way to these situations.
NEWSWAVE.
That was Tim Wood. A big thanks to Tim for taking the time to speak to us here on Chaos Radio. To find out more about Restart the Heart Day, the annual campaign, and lots of handy information, you can visit their website, resus.org.uk. OK, that's it from me. Back to you, Tom Howe, as you were.
NewsWave.
A big Chaos Radio thank you to Director and Pharmacist Sarbjit Singh of Barnes Pharmacy, to Flo Linscott, the Diverse Community Sergeant for Cornwall, to Nikki Cannon, a Volunteer Coordinator from Konnect Communities, and to Caroline Ellis from the Admiral Nurse Service. And as ever, a final thank you to you for listening and helping support local journalism to thrive. To catch up on all our coverage, as well as to check out our extensive back catalogue of interviews and shows, head on over to chaosnews.uk. And remember, if you have a local news story that you'd like to share with us, email news@chaos.radio or search Chaos Radio UK across socials. That's it, you're up to date here on Chaos. I'm Tom Howe, thank you so much for joining me. Whatever it is that you're doing this week, be sure to keep it chaos.
NewsWave.
Chaos.radio. Music, podcasts, entertainment.